Welcome back. This is chapter 28, section 3, and this is a class of arthropods we're going to go through in this section called Insecta. And so this is all our insects, and this is the largest group of animals, single group of animals, and it comprises of 73% or more of all the animal species on Earth. Here's some important vocabulary that we'll go through this PowerPoint. Some key concepts. And so this picture turned out a little bit blurry, but I've shown you this before. The insects are just unbelievably diverse. And so you can see here's just one, it's a natural history museum, and there's just drawers and drawers and drawers full along this hallway. Rooms of drawers full of different types of insects. So each one of these are different species, and it's quite remarkable. So we've described approximately 1 million species of insects to date, and they are the most successful most successful group of organisms on Earth. They've been around for quite some time and will continue to be around for quite some time. They inhabit most every terrestrial habitat on Earth, and then they also are found in freshwater and marine environments as well. And so anywhere you go, you're going to come across insects, and the diversity of them is unbelievable. The numbers are remarkable. A very successful group of organisms. If you go to the tropics, you will just be blown away with the number of insects. It is remarkable. So go to Costa Rica, and you'll see this remarkable class of organisms, Insecta. And so what is an insect? So it's divided in, the body plan is divided up into 3 parts. The head, right here, so this segment right here. The thorax, this segment right here, and the abdomen. And then they also have attached to, they have 3 pairs of legs that are attached to the thorax. So the leg coming off here, here, and here. So insects have 6 legs. So if it has more than 6 legs, then it's not going to be in the class Insecta. And then also you can tell by these 3 segments whether it's an insect or not. Here's antennae, and so anyways. So how do they feed? Well, they've adapted these pairs of appendages, and they use as mouth parts. So you can see this up close picture of the mouth parts here. This coil right here, those are the mouth parts. And so here's the eye. And so we'll talk about each one of these appendages. And so these mouth parts are specialized for feeding. Yeah. So specialized mouth parts. So for an ant, they have mandibles, and this is a very important useful tool for ants. They can bite you, and depending on the species, they will bite you. If you go to Costa Rica, there's some ant called the bullet ant. It's quite large, and it can bite and sting, and it hurts. Give you quite a lot of pain for 6+ hours. But these mandibles are to tear and chew and grind and saw. And so you've probably heard of leaf cutter ants. They cut leaves away, and then they take them to the colony to store them away, and they add some fungi to it, and they have a little garden in their colony. And they need their mandibles in order to do this. A moth, butterfly, these have these tube-like mouth parts, and this mouth part is in order to suck nectar out from flowers. So we talked about nectar in flowers inside the nectaries, and so these long tube mouth parts can sort of extend out and suck out the nectar from flowers. Some of these can be quite long, like we saw in the flower chapter. There's a moth that has one that's over a foot long in length, and so pretty cool specialized mouth parts. And then like a fly has a sponge-like mouth part, and it's used to lap up food. So it's sort of an interesting thing to watch. If you go on YouTube, you could probably see this. Actually, when we watched that video Life, you saw the fly as it was on the Venus flytrap, and you saw this mouth part in action lapping up some of the nectar that was on that flower. Excuse me, movement and flight. So again, insects have 3 pairs of legs, and this is for movement. So they walk with these 3 pairs of legs, they jump with these 3 pairs of legs, they can capture and hold prey with these front part of their legs. And so this is quite an important adaptation, is these 3 pairs of legs. As well, underneath here you're going to have wings, and that's for flight. And so all of these are controlled by muscle cells and the nervous system. So this is how they move, jump, fly, capture prey, all sorts of things. So for flying, typically insects are going to have 2 pairs of wings, and they're going to be made of that same material, that same protein called chitin that the exoskeleton is made up of. And so over here you have a cycad, and these can be quite beautiful and obnoxious at night in the jungle. And the wings, when they first submerge, are not hard yet. They need to harden, and again, they're made of chitin, so they need, just like the exoskeleton, need time to harden, and then they can fly with them. And so you see it over here. Most insects, you may think they don't have wings, but then sure enough they do. And a lot of times they'll have part of their exoskeleton sort of covering the wing to protect the wing. Remember, the wing is the most important part for many of these organisms, so they need to protect those wings so that they can fly. This is one of the things that enabled insects to sort of get all the way around the earth. You know, they're quite diverse terrestrial organisms, and they're widespread because they have the ability to fly long distances. Oh, I guess that was a bullet point, and I didn't know it. Different types of metamorphosis. So this is a key concept. And so we have 2 types. We have incomplete metamorphosis, and the next slide will be complete metamorphosis. And so this is the life cycles. Metamorphosis, you may be familiar already, but this is 2 different types of life cycles for insects. And so you start, well, chicken or egg, I don't know, but egg, if we start here at the egg, and the egg hatches for incomplete metamorphosis, hatches into what we call nymph. And the nymph is just a identical little mini-me of the adult, right? So it looks exactly like the adult. In fact, it's pretty fun to find nymph grasshoppers out in the garden, and they're just little mini-me's of the adults. Not quite as scary to some people, but anyway, so nymph, and they grow, they molt. Remember molting? They shed their exoskeleton, they grow, they shed their exoskeleton, they grow, they shed their exoskeleton, they grow, and then they come to a full, mature adult stage. This is incomplete metamorphosis. The second type is complete metamorphosis. And so this section, this green arrow all the way around here, this is an immature state of the life cycle. And then this, I guess, blue or whatever color this is the adult stage of the life cycle. So we start off with the eggs. The eggs hatch and they become larvae. Larvae is going to feed. They increase in size. They'll increase in size tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times within these stages. They become a pupa, which is the last stage of the immature part of their metamorphosis. This is where they're going to have their final molt. So they've been molting. This is going to be their final molt, and before their adult stage, and then they move on to be an adult. So looks like 2 different organisms, right? But it's the same. So it's going to then go into an adult phase where it has its all the body plan complete, and now it can reproduce and do all the functions that it would normally. So that's complete metamorphosis. This is one life cycle of the 2 types in the class Insecta.